You made a horrendous mistake. You're fired. Don't ever come back to this company. Yelling that, the manager stormed out of the room. So, I'm getting fired. Huh. I've been contributing to the company without any major errors, but it seems I need to start job hunting. But on the second day after being fired, my cell phone suddenly rang. Oh good, you answered. David, can you come back to the office right now? Having been told this, I hurry to the company. My name is David. I live with my loving wife and our energetic 8-year-old son. I work for a subsidiary of a major food manufacturer, handling the ordering and receipt of food products. I deal with products for both restaurants and retail consumers, so managing the inventory is quite challenging. It's a job where attention to detail is crucial, but I've always managed to do it smoothly without any major mistakes. However, there was one troublemaker at the office. Hey David, this document was supposed to be finished by today, right? The one shouting at me was Paul, the manager. Paul is younger than me, in his 40s, but he's my boss because he is the son of the director of the main food manufacturing company. He always gives orders with a pompous attitude. Furthermore, he always believes he's right and is surprisingly bad at his job. He became a director just 2 weeks ago, and for some reason, he seems to have taken a disliking to me. He checks on me daily, pushing more and more work onto my plate. After you finish that, get this document done as well. Hurry it up. Yes, I understand. You should take the initiative before your boss tells you. Honestly, you're so thoughtless. The manager threw a bundle of papers onto my desk and left the room. As I was picking up the scattered documents, I could hear my colleagues whispering to each other. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but being in the same room, I couldn't help but overhear. Paul is always tough on David, isn't he? David does his job so meticulously and without any mistakes. I'd wonder why. But David can be a bit absent-minded, you know. He doesn't hold any significant position at his age, right? Maybe he's not interested in climbing the corporate ladder. Well, with that kind of attitude, promotion seems tough for him. Even when the younger manager scolds him, he just brushes it off with a smile. As I overheard my colleagues chuckling behind my back, I let out a sigh. Let them talk. I'm just doing my job my way. Doing what I need to do my way. I continued to tackle the tasks assigned to me by the manager. However, one day while I was working as usual, a colleague suddenly began to panic. Answering the phone, he was sweating profusely and kept repeating apologies. Wondering what had happened, the colleague hung up the phone and approached me. David, what's the meaning of this? Huh. Me? The colleague handed me a note. The content was a complaint from a major client. We ordered 50 units of the regular business product and 500 household items to hand out as samples, but they received only the 50 units of the business product. They were furious, saying they were supposed to distribute the household items at an event in 3 days. How will we make this right? You're kidding. That can't be. I've never made such a mistake before, and I was sure I checked this order too. Why did this happen? I started to panic. I handled orders for 2 types of products: business and household. The large packs for business and the individually packaged household items have the same product name, so they're easy to mix up. Because it's an area prone to errors, I always double-checked, especially since it would be difficult to correct such a mistake. But the fact remains that we got this complaint. Quickly composing myself, I opened my computer to verify the order. The purchase order showed a record of 50 business products. That's strange. I'm sure I ordered the 500 household items as well. Unable to believe my eyes, I felt a sudden chill. Then the next moment, Paul's loud voice echoed throughout the room. What kind of mistake is this, you useless employee? No, I'm sure I ordered the 500 household items too. Enough. You clearly only ordered the business products. If you have time to make excuses, find a way to gather those 500 household items now. Paul pushed me against my desk in anger and stormed out of the room. My colleagues looked on with concern at the altercation between the manager and me, but none offered help. Either way, I have to find those household items. I quickly returned to my desk and started calling our branches. I'm sorry for the sudden request. If you have any spare household items, could you send them over, please? I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I owe you one. Only 240 left, and only 3 days left until the event where our client will participate. Can I really gather all 500 by then? No time to doubt. I need to do whatever I can right now. I frantically made calls to address the situation. I deeply apologize. Yes, thank you for checking. I kept bowing and asking if they had any stock. Even if there was just one item available, I would drive there myself to pick it up. Only 70 left. Then, the day before the event, holding boxes filled with the products, I bowed deeply. Thank you so much for this. I can't thank you enough. Finally, I had managed to secure the 500th item. In the end, I managed to prepare the required amount for the event where our client was participating. After that, I quickly headed to the client's place to deliver the goods, but the person in charge looked down on me with a gaze filled with anger. What's going on? We've been doing business for a long time, but I've never felt like this before. Sorry, but I can't trust you anymore. Our business relationship is over. The client angrily took the goods and with a slam, shut the door right in front of me. I stood there, head bowed in disappointment, for a while before slowly making my way back to the office. I did everything I could. When I got back, there stood the manager with a stern look, arms crossed, waiting for me. You really messed up this time. If this keeps up, you're going to ruin the company's reputation. You're fired. Leave now and don't come back. With that, the manager stormed out of the room. I trudged back to my desk, dejected. Is this how I get fired? My mistake caused the company so much trouble. I had always been a reliable employee and contributed well, but it seems I'll have to start job hunting. It'll be tough at my age since I hadn't climbed the corporate ladder. How will I break the news to my wife and son when I get home? With a heavy heart, I started packing up my things as the end of the day approached. I apologized to my colleagues. I'm really sorry for the trouble I've caused. Thank you for everything. I'll be on my way now. I went around apologizing to everyone and then clocked out after finishing the formalities to use my remaining paid time off. I realized there was nothing left for me to do at the company. It's been a long 3 days. I could hear the creaking as I stretched my neck and shoulders. What will I tell my wife and son when I get home? Would they be disappointed in me? Would they see me as a failure? No, they'll greet me with their usual smiles. Given their nature, they wouldn't blame me, but that thought somehow felt even harder to bear. Lost in thought, I found myself close to home. I'm home. Welcome back, Dad. You're late. Oh, you look a bit off. Something happened. Holding my energetic son in my arms, I smiled and shook my head in response to my wife's question. Just a little something. I'll talk about it later. All right then. Let's eat once you've changed. I headed to my bedroom at a slow pace. Both my wife and son greeted me with warm smiles, just as I had imagined. That made me even more unsure about how to break the news to them. Anyways, I'll tell them after dinner. With renewed determination, I went back to the living room where my wife and son were waiting. Let's eat. Let's eat. So, what happened? You seem a bit down, Dad. Something wrong. Their voices, full of concern for me, made my heart race. But I couldn't keep this from them forever. Taking a deep breath and gathering my courage, I began to speak. I'm really sorry, you two. It looks like I've been laid off from work. Upon hearing my words, my wife's eyes widened in shock, rendering her speechless. Instead, it was my son who raised his voice. That's awesome, Dad. You don't have to go to work now, right? Yeah. I'll be home for a while starting tomorrow. Jay, let's go to the amusement park then. I've been wanting to go. My son is beaming, gazing at me with a big smile. I just stared back at my son, not expecting his reaction like this. Then my wife began to chuckle softly. Oh, that's a great idea. You seemed quite swamped lately. It'd be nice for you to relax. I'd be happy if you were home more. I was taken aback by my wife and son's response, but at the same time, I felt a great sense of relief. I see neither of them blames me for getting laid off. I guess it's all right for me to just take it easy at home. Come to think of it, since my son grew up, we haven't really gone on any long trips. I had left all the parenting and household chores to my wife, so maybe this was a good opportunity to spend time with the family. Deep in thought, cherishing the moment, I smiled at the two of them. How about this weekend when there's no school? Let's all go to the amusement park. Yay, you promised, Dad. I'm looking forward to it already. Their joyful voices filled the living room. What a warm family gathering this is. I'm truly blessed to have these happy moments. Feeling a bit relieved, I continued with my meal. However, the very next morning, after I took my paid leave, my cell phone suddenly rang. The caller was a colleague from work. I wonder what's up. Did I make another mistake? With a hint of anxiety, I answered the call. Hello, this is David. Oh, David. Glad you picked up. I'm sorry to bother you during your vacation, but can you come to the office right away? Did something happen? I'm sorry, please come back as soon as possible. I can't explain in detail over the phone, but it's urgent. Understood. I'll be right there. Hearing the urgency in my colleague's voice, I quickly got dressed. My wife looked at me with a puzzled expression. Is everything okay? Was that the office? Yeah, they need me. I'm heading out. I arrived at the office about 40 minutes after the call. As I approached my department, the same colleague hurriedly came over. David, thank goodness you are here. Please come with me quickly. Following my hurried colleague, I couldn't help but tilt my head in confusion. Why the rush? What could have possibly happened? As we ran, he started explaining the situation to me. According to him, the morning after I was fired, an infuriated COO stormed into our department. Why isn't he here? Explain this. Oh, are you talking about David? We're okay without that guy. Paul, who was there, tried to calm the COO, but that seemed to make him even angrier. What are you talking about? Just bring David back now. That's when they decided to contact me. Hearing my colleague's story, I was still puzzled. But I was fired, right? My colleague looked just as baffled. Leading me further, we soon came upon the CEO and a visibly upset manager. Hey, David, good to have you back. I was under the impression I was fired. Hearing the word fired, the CEO opened his mouth in surprise, but soon broke out into a hearty laugh. We'd never let you go. Without you, who's going to manage transactions for the company? With that, the CEO showed me his computer screen. There, I saw the order page for our products. Spotting a red warning icon on the screen, I couldn't help but raise my voice. Hey, something's off here. It looks like no orders have been placed since the day after I got fired and went on unpaid leave. Well, that's because you weren't here. Huh. Why would orders stop just because I'm not around? Because, David, it's a job that only you can handle. The CEO then handed a note to Paul, who sat silently. Paul, can you place the order from this note? Sure. Upon receiving the note, Paul moved to the computer. However, as he was about to place it, he stopped, looking utterly confused. Excuse me, what's written here? I need this in English to place the order. Hearing Paul's words, the CEO burst into hearty laughter. After a short while, he regained his composure and looked straight at me. All right, David, can you handle the order from that note? Wait, what? No way. If I couldn't do it, there's no way David could. Just get up and hand that note to David. Following the CEO's command, Paul, looking a tad grumpy, passed the note to me, pushing it into my hand with a look that said, "Like you can't do any better." I took the note, sat at the computer as instructed, and checked the order details. Then I began placing it as usual. "This is a food product from Singapore. I'm placing the order now." "Is that English?" The words look all jumbled. "The next item is from Australia." "Oh, what's this product called?" "I can't read this at all." Paul kept interrupting, but I steadily continued with the order. Once I entered all the items from the note, I turned to the co. "If there's anything else, I'll order it right away. We have our regular order with South Africa coming up soon." "Right." "That's right." "Hey, if there are any order requests, bring them over. David's back, and he can handle it right away." Upon hearing the CEO's words, several employees immediately rushed over. "David, could you please handle this? I need this done too, and urgently." As I busily input the orders from the forms being handed to me, I overheard Paul mumbling complaints from afar. "I can't believe it. How can David, of all people, place these orders?" That's when it hit me. It seems Paul didn't know I was proficient in English dialects. In fact, during my college years, I had researched various English dialects and had almost aced the test. I had especially studied English influenced by local languages in places like Singapore and South Africa, which allowed me to understand order forms without constantly looking up local terms. Being able to read and write all communications with vendors from those countries had been quite beneficial in transactions. Once I had finished inputting all the requested orders, I double-checked the product names and quantities. All right, everything seems correct and sent. I felt relieved to have successfully placed the orders, but then I noticed something odd. Huh. What's this? This computer was exclusively for orders and displayed order history and the last update history once an order was finalized. Moreover, an employee was required to operate this computer, so the name of the employee who was using it at the time was also recorded. Upon checking the records, the last update was still on the day I was told I'd be fired. However, the last person to update it was listed as Paul. I see. That's what happened. What's going on, David? Everything became clear, and I stood up abruptly. The order mistake the other day wasn't my fault. Isn't that right, Paul? What are you on about now? It was your mistake, and that's why you were fired, wasn't it? Confronted by my accusation, Paul, with a red face, retorted. He fervently pointed to the computer screen I had been working on. You were the expert at ordering, weren't you? Plus, you just said that you're the only one who can understand that gibberish English, right? You really won't admit it, will you? Then let me show you the evidence. With that, I promptly printed out the screen. I showed the printed paper to everyone present. Take a look here. It says Paul under the last updated column, doesn't it? No, that's... Paul stammered, flailing his hands, but everyone's gaze was fixed on the paper I held. The CEO took the paper from me, staring at Paul's name intently. After a moment, he said in a grave tone, "It seems it's time. Time for you to leave this company, Paul." "No, this must be some mistake," Paul began, pale-faced, trying to explain himself. But the CEO, with a stern look, declared, "I'll be informing your father about this. Expect appropriate consequences. Brace yourself." The CEO fixed his gaze on Paul and then left the room. Suddenly, Paul let out a short cry and collapsed weakly to the floor. Meanwhile, I was surrounded by my colleagues, all addressing me at once. "David, I had no idea you had such skills. To be honest, I thought you were incompetent. I'm truly sorry. We didn't talk much, and I thought you were a bit odd. I apologize." "Hey, it's not like you guys did anything wrong, so no need to apologize. Besides, it looks like I still have a job here, so let's continue to get along," I said, trying to reassure my colleagues. Seeing their relieved expressions, I felt my own tension ease. And so, having proven I hadn't made any mistakes, I safely returned home. When I told my wife and son that I'd be returning to work, they were genuinely overjoyed. A few days later, while I was on unpaid leave, my cell phone rang again. It was the CEO. "Sorry to bother you during your time off. The thing is, I got a call from a client. He insisted that he needed to speak with you directly." "That's okay. What happened after the order mishap?" "The client wanted to know if it truly was your mistake. They remembered how dedicated and passionate you have been in our dealings with them, and thought there might have been some misunderstanding." "Oh, I see." I was brought back to the memories of that time. It feels good to know that our long-standing client had such trust in me. The CEO continued speaking. "I always believed you couldn't have made that mistake, but to think that Paul tampered with it. I'm truly sorry for this. After that incident, we had a meeting with the high-ups, and as a result, he was let go. He deserved it after what he did. Paul's father is a top executive at our parent company, but it seems his actions were still inexcusable. From what the CEO said, Paul is currently looking for jobs at other companies, but rumors of his tampering are making it tough for him." After hanging up, I took a deep breath. Now I can get back to work as usual. With Paul gone, I'm even more motivated. Seeing my renewed energy, my wife said, "Seems like some good news," and chuckled. The next day, as we had promised, we took a family trip to the amusement park. My wife and I enjoyed the park, watching our son looking happy. "Dad, Mom, we can get a fast pass here." "Oh, they have that handy option." Our son explained that it was a system where we could use the attractions on a priority basis within a designated time. Seeing how much our son has grown without us realizing makes me feel warm inside. And so, we enjoyed the amusement park the entire day. Soon, the day to return to work arrived. I'm off. I left the house earlier than usual. The familiar commute route looked brighter to my eyes. Upon arriving at the office, I brushed off the dust from my suit and slowly entered the building. "Good morning." "Oh, good morning, David. I hate to bother you right as you get in, but could you handle this for me?" In his colleague's hand was an order form for Singapore. "Just leave it to me." And just like that, my daily routine began to get back on track. All you are is a worthless idiot. At this new company, dead weight is not necessary. It's time to reduce expenses, beginning with you. Tom Anderson, the executive vice president, raised his voice and yelled at me. He had always made fun of me and looked down on me. I hadn't been able to resist him until now. I had reached my limit, though. I looked him in the eye and started talking gently. "I'm Simon Smith, and I'm 27 years old. I work for a big company that is fairly well known. I received my degree from a nearby university with mediocre rankings. It was not nationally renowned. However, the majority of my coworkers are well educated because the company I joined is a major player. Because of the results-driven mentality at my first sales assignment, nobody gave a damn about my school background. However, after I was moved to the administrative department, I've discovered that many people here actually care. It's good to meet you. My name is Simon Smith. I'm excited to collaborate with each of you." I was greeted with little applause on my first day in the administrative department. The senior worker who was tasked with mentoring me, Hazel, smiled strainedly and gave me the rundown. A highly educated manager named David Marmar oversees the administrative division. His team naturally prioritizes education as well. Unusually for this organization, Hazel has a high school diploma. She clarified that she was hired because a relative, Fu, had previously had a prominent position here. She was a struggling single mother at the time, and her relative helped her out. She acknowledged that many people at the time denigrated her for being a low-educated hire through connections, even though she has since remarried and settled down. Additionally, Executive Vice President Tom Anderson has a significant impact here. He is even more fixated on schooling than David is, and his duties frequently involved administrative work. I see. I knew Tom's face even though I hadn't talked to him much. I pondered how he may respond if he learned more about me. I promised to keep a low profile because he was often in the administrative department. This guy is the new one, isn't he? Tom said, "Nice to meet you." He approached me despite my best efforts to avoid him. David, who stood beside him, grinned. "I heard you did okay in sales, but that was probably just luck. You're nothing but dead weight here in admin." From the start, David was always critical of me and found fault in everything I did. Sorry about that. I wasn't doing anything to justify being called dead weight, but arguing back would only make things worse, so I apologized instead. Seeing this, Tom let out a loud, exaggerated sigh. Seriously, HR makes mistakes sometimes, hiring people like you. We don't need low-educated fools here. Even though there was no real reason, Tom and David continued to pester me with snide remarks. After I was finally released, Hazel invited me for lunch and shared more details. Sorry I couldn't step in to help. Tom is still the executive vice president, so you never know what he might do if you push back. She apologized with a troubled look. But I quickly waved it off. Oh no, it's really no big deal. You've got a strong mental fortitude, Simon. When I was taking maternity leave after having a child with my current husband, those two gave me so much grief that I was mentally crushed. Though they said nothing to other female employees, they had specifically targeted Hazel with relentless passive-aggressive remarks. By the way, her relative Fu, who had helped her get the job, retired long ago. So Hazel now has no connections or influence and is just a regular employee. Why are they so obsessed with education, anyway? Well, the founder and current president are both known for valuing education. But there's another rumor about Tom. Apparently, Tom's father was the CEO of a smaller company. The company was eventually passed down to Tom's older brother, despite only having a high school education. His brother was recognized by their father as having talent for management and was chosen as the successor. Until then, Tom had believed he would be chosen because he was more educated than his brother. Must have felt like a betrayal from his father. That's probably what made him start obsessing over education. I didn't know there was such a complicated backstory. Still, that's no excuse for demeaning others. My son is taking his college entrance exams this year, but he's struggling. How about you? Oh wait, you probably didn't study that hard. Your college wasn't exactly prestigious. Tom feigned seeking advice while mocking my educational background. Take care of this, will you? A simple task like this should be easy for someone as unqualified as you. I need it done today. Without even waiting for my reply, he dumped his busy work on me. It was clear that Tom saw me as both a stress relief punching bag and a convenient errand boy. David's frequent business trips made him less of a nuisance. But Tom, who was almost always at the office, would deliberately come to the admin department to harass me. He seemed to enjoy watching me squirm. Can someone like that really be a company executive? This place is in serious trouble, I muttered bitterly. But it turned out the company was indeed in deep trouble. Recently, our company sold all its shares to another corporation CEO. We became a subsidiary of that company and announced plans for a management turnaround. As a result, the workload in the admin department skyrocketed. For the past few days, I've been carrying boxes filled with documents to various departments. Being the youngest in the admin department, I was assigned all the heavy lifting. Even during such a busy time, Tom made it a point to bother me. Well, looks like you're busy. Manual labor suits you. Why don't you transfer to a factory position? I heard there is an opening. Grinning slightly, he taunted me. Usually, I'd humor him, but today I was too swamped to deal with this nonsense. Yeah, sure. Sorry, but I'm in a bit of a rush. Apparently, my dismissive response didn't sit well with him. Tom grabbed my arm roughly, his face irritated. Hey, That. Walk away. Listen when I'm talking to you. Because of his sudden grab, I dropped the box I was holding. The documents inside scattered everywhere, and a bundle hit Tom's foot. Ouch. Watch it. Already stressed, I snapped and retorted without thinking. You're the one who yanked my arm. Tom, hearing that, his face turned red with rage. Are you blaming me? Because of your mistake, I got hurt. Hurt? You've got to be kidding. I couldn't help but show my exasperation. Seeing my reaction only made him angrier. Employees passing by stared at the commotion, their eyes wide with curiosity. No apology. Typical of a lowlife like you. Useless dead weight like you has no place in this new company. We're cutting costs. You're fired. Getting this mad over something so trivial? He's like a child, I thought. I couldn't believe I'd been taking orders from someone like him all this time. Suddenly, everything seemed ridiculous, and I found myself saying, well, isn't that a coincidence? I couldn't agree more. What? It'll soon become clear who's the real dead weight in this company. Ignoring his loud complaints, I quickly picked up the scattered documents. Tom kept pestering me, but I shot him a glare and said, if you're going to fire me, go ahead. I'm busy, so excuse me. With a firm tone, I walked away. Even Tom seemed taken aback, standing there stunned as he watched me leave. The next day, both Tom and I were present at a board meeting. Tom was in his usual seat while I stood beside the newly appointed shareholder and CEO of a major corporation, Billy Smith. Tom, the current president, and other board members stared at me, their expressions demanding to know why I was there. Then CEO Billy spoke. Let's begin the board meeting. I imagine some of you are curious, so let me clarify. This gentleman here is assisting me. Let's proceed with the meeting. I gave a polite nod and smiled at the board members. While some looked unsatisfied, their faces changed to shock at Billy's next words. Well, I'd like to start the meeting, but first, all board members are fired. Effective immediately. What? Tom was the first to exclaim in disbelief. Other board members looked confused or stood in stunned silence. Sir, what are you saying? Billy fixed Tom with a stern gaze. This company is plagued by elitism. My company has no room for such a mindset. In fact, we've received numerous complaints from employees about it. He placed a thick stack of documents on the table. These are all complaints from the staff. While the founder and current president may have fostered this culture, that doesn't excuse making employees miserable. His sharp words made the current president, Tom, and other board members who had targeted employees with elitist attitudes avert their eyes. Billy then turned to me and gave a small nod. I nodded back at him, at my father. Yes, Billy Smith is my father. He's the CEO of one of the top companies in the country. To prepare as his successor, I had joined a different company to gain experience. However, when that company faced financial trouble, my father decided to buy it out. Our family's corporation boasts industry-leading production capacity with numerous factories nationwide, and my father had long aimed to bring this company under its umbrella. Now, with the acquisition complete, his plan had succeeded. I had been educated by my father since I was a child, and though it might sound arrogant, I achieved decent results. There was a reason I chose to attend a local university. When I was in high school, my mother fell ill. She required long-term hospitalization, so I focused on a university near the hospital. By attending that university, I could quickly be by her side if needed and visit her every day. For me, academic credentials weren't a top priority. I had already learned everything necessary from my father, and I didn't see any point in being overly concerned about university rankings. My father, who also didn't prioritize academics, supported my decision, saying he'd feel better knowing I was close to my mother. By the way, my mother has since fully recovered and is living a healthy life now. While I don't dismiss the importance of education, The obsession with it at this company is abnormal. There are likely many reasons for the company's poor performance, but I believe its excessive focus on academic credentials is part of the problem. I reported everything that had happened at the company to my father. The truth is, my father had invited me to attend the meeting for educational purposes. At this point, I'm still just a regular employee and wouldn't normally have access to board meetings. It was a valuable learning opportunity, and my father took advantage of it. While my father and I share the same last name, it's common enough that Tom hasn't connected the dots. Additionally, I resemble my mother and look nothing like my father. Not that Tom has the composure to notice such things right now anyway. If you're close to the COO, he better put in a good word for me. A good word about what? Tell him I'd never harassed you, and now, better bury those other reports from employees. Got it. I almost laughed. Even now, he was trying to order me around from a position of superiority. Why would I do that? Deciding it was time to make things clear, I replied coldly, if I owed you anything, maybe. But all you've ever done is cause me trouble. If you're fired, I'll gladly cooperate to ensure it happens. Tom looked utterly baffled by my words. What? Why? The question is, why not? Did you really think I'd keep obeying you just because I have until now? Hearing this, Tom nodded, still confused. I let out a deep sigh, louder than ever. The only reason I obeyed you was because you had the power to fire someone like me. I didn't want to risk losing my job, that's all. As my words sank in, Tom's face turned even paler. So what happens to me now? Sue Mosmith said he'd reorganize the board after dismissing everyone. Will I be able to stay in the company? Tilting my head slightly, I replied, well, who knows? But at the very least, you'll probably lose your current position. It might be hard to fire you outright for harassment, but I think you'll face some serious consequences. Tom had harassed more than just me. Some of the reports were downright appalling. Personally, I'd like you to resign. You once called me a useless burden, but the truth is your presence here is far more damaging. You're much worse than I could ever be. Tom's eyes widened in despair as he looked at me. Whatever happens from now on, it's all the result of your own actions. You brought this on yourself. Those words seemed to be the final blow. Tom collapsed weakly to the ground. After this, as my father had declared, the board was reorganized. The current president was ousted, and a competent vice president was promoted to the role of president. Problematic board members were stripped of their positions and faced severe penalties, including demotions. Some were even forced out under the guise of voluntary resignation. Tom was one of them. How did you pull it off? I thought Tom would cling to his position no matter what, especially with his son's college expenses coming up. My father, with a solemn expression, simply replied, "You're not ready to know." I couldn't begin to imagine what methods he used. In time, I'll learn from him at my own pace. As for David, one of Tom's loyal followers, he was reassigned to another department, bringing peace to my workplace. Hazel, one of the victims, expressed her relief and joy at the improved work environment. She's an incredibly skilled employee, and I hope she continues to thrive here for years to come. As for me, I'll keep honing my skills at this company, striving every day to become a person worthy of succeeding my father as the next CEO.